Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm Tom Laux here with the City of Marshfield, and we're going to be doing the school board candidates for Marshfield. It's called Get to Know Your Candidate, and thank you so much for joining me. And today I have Chuck Norton with me, and he is one of 7 candidates that's running for the primary, which is going to take place February 20th, and that's coming up quick.
Oh yeah, it definitely is.
All right. Well, let's get to know you a bit first. Tell me a little bit about yourself, Chuck.
Well, some of the people know me because I do work at the hospital. I moved here about 16 years ago from New Jersey. My wife dragged me out here. I love it. I learned to love this town. It reminds me of home when I was a little kid. I have 2 kids in the high school. They've gone through the elementary, junior, and high school here. Mm-hmm. They're in 9th and 10th grade. So I got dissatisfied with the hospital work, and I started picking up, and I started a nonprofit here in town, actually. It's called Honeysuckle Bush. So it's not even a year old yet, but it's a lot of work. Well, it works with mental health in the area. So basically, the needs for people that are struggling, even if it's just the idea of people that are dealing with severe mental illness, or even just struggling with day-to-day life, because it can get overwhelming, especially after COVID and everything.
Oh, definitely. You're more than right that that's a need more than ever nowadays than it was back 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
So, well, let's move on to a piece that we're going to talk about. Why have you decided to run for the school board? So,
when I grew up, I was always told by my mother that if there was something that you didn't like that was going on, you can either stand around and not be involved, and then you have no opinion, and then you really have no opinion if you don't get involved, or you can get involved. Well, I dislike some of the things that have been going on with the school, and I think the whole school district, and I think it can be better. So I can either stand by the sidelines and watch it do its thing, or I can be involved. So that's why I'm here.
All right. Well, in a minute we'll talk about what some of your priorities are. But if you're joining us here, this is our school board candidate get to know is what we call it, and we're getting a chance to hear from each candidate that's running for the Marshfield School Board, the Board of Education. But first, there is a primary, and that is February 20th. Mm-hmm. It's going to whittle it down to 6 from 7. So one of the candidates are not going to make it, but because there are 3 seats available in this election, and they would actually start already on April 22nd if you get in. So it's a pretty quick turnaround, and being a quick turnaround, how do you develop the priorities? Because this is your first time running, is that right?
Yeah, and it's a learning experience. I'm constant. Anytime I'm not at work, I'm reading about. I'm on the Wisconsin School Board website, trying to read a little bit here and there, learning about it. I'm sorry, what was the question?
No problem. Just basically what we're asking about is, you want to run in, or you are running, and your priorities for what makes you want to do this? What is one of the top? Maybe it's your kids are going.
My kids are one of the priorities is my kids are going, and I've seen a divide in the school district itself. Not mainly, it's the divide again with teachers and parents, and then of course the separation of different students. And really, as long as we work together, we're good.
Okay. Let's talk about the other candidates. I don't know if you have had a chance to meet them or watch them during a
No.
board meeting. Is there any? Can you tell me any differences that you may know? You may not know because you don't work with them. You're not on the board right now.
Well, I mean, the only difference is because I don't work with them that I've noticed is a lot of, well, I don't live, I'm not from here.
Mm-hmm.
Not that that's a bad thing or a good thing, it's just I have a different opinion. I didn't graduate from the high school here. I came in here and fell in love with this town.
Well, there's a lot of things to really enjoy about Marshfield
Oh, yeah.
versus where out east. It's quite a bit different, I bet.
It totally is. It's a different culture. But like I said, I fell in love with the idea that things are a bit more personal.
Let's talk about anything that's on your mind that you feel that might be an issue that needs to be corrected. How would you address that if there is any that you know of? Anything that you'd like to believe that are maybe top two issues?
One of the issues that's going on is that I hear a lot of people comment about is how we're teaching our children. The phrase new math, and I don't have I'm not against it, but what I am against is the idea of not having a diversified idea of teaching and giving the teachers that ability to do it, to teach in a way that's more comfortable.
Is there, and I'm not sure because my kids don't go to the school, but is there a curriculum they have to follow? Is like a school's choice?
Yeah.
I remember school choice at one time.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's part of it or not.
It's more of a curriculum they have to follow.
Okay, so sometimes styles
It's
not
more structured.
more structured.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're more in favor of letting the teacher kind of do what they do best.
Right. I mean,
Okay.
they went to school they went to school, they got the education, they have that passion to teach.
All right. Well, let's talk about experience. I know you're new at this.
Very new.
But you do stuff out in the community. You said you have as a nonprofit. Is that right?
Correct.
What has that helped you be prepared? Anything else to help be prepared to be a school board member?
What it's prepared me for is that idea of getting out there and talking to people and understanding that when it comes to working with people, everybody has a different view. And that doesn't mean that it's a wrong view. It just means that it's different. Mm-hmm. And how we can come up to a sense of compromise to ultimately get to a goal that's beneficial to everybody.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about promoting your candidacy. By this time, the program airs. Maybe you had mentioned that you're going to the library for an event. That may be over, but what is all your plans?
So I guess I'm not doing anything to raise money, or it's either financed through myself or finding creative ways that are inexpensive. Get my name out there, get the word out there. Mm-hmm. It's Tuesday the 30th, if I remember right.
Next week already.
Yeah, is the library from the library event from 11 o'clock a.m. to 3 o'clock p.m. So
is
I'll
that
be
just
there.
Yours, or is that everyone's?
No, that's just mine.
Just yours?
Just
Okay.
mine.
All right. So people can meet and greet you, although it might be over by then, but maybe you'll have that again. I have to say that because, we're going to be running this right up to the 20th of February. And but we want to thank you for coming here because this is a way to, promote yourself
totally.
and get the information out to the public, and there is no cost for the candidates to do that. So we do appreciate that. Let's talk about certain behaviors, attitudes, attributes, all those kind of things. what does it take to be a school board member? How do you, because you're representing the school.
Right, right. So, like what I've seen before, and working as in the nonprofit, what I've noticed is that idea of compromise, and to a certain point. I mean, some issues are definitely, some issues and some decisions need to be forceful, but it doesn't mean that you should. I guess the word is demonize everybody that doesn't work with you. Mm-hmm. So, I guess how to work with them is to mm-hmm. work with them in a means of gentle coaxing.
And it kind of dovetails into this, goals. Know if the goals are being accomplished and policies are being implemented. How do you do that as a group? I mean, you're on your own. What happens, if you don't agree with a policy that maybe comes forward? How do you do that? Is there an idea that you might have to help bring that together, or do you argue about it?
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, if it's something that's definitely I feel passionate about, I definitely will argue my opinion. I'm never going to just give up mm-hmm. on what I feel is right. I'm a firm believer in that what's right is right. But I do have that flexibility to understand that not everything can be handled overnight. That sometimes it takes a little bit to do.
Yeah, it definitely does that, yeah. And it's important to work together.
It is.
Is what you're saying,
a team effort, and it's important to work together and understand that you have to be patient. Things don't change overnight.
No, they don't.
No.
All right. Well, we'll be right back with this interview after this message and talk about more questions with our candidate, Chuck Norton.
On each episode of The Jet Set, we have your passport to travel, food, lifestyle tips, and fun.
That's right. Hang out with us and buckle up for the talk and tips you need to be an expert traveler, live better, and be inspired to embrace the on-the-go lifestyle.
Don't miss The Jet Set right here on Marshfield Now.
Welcome back to our Get to Know program with our school board candidates. And today I have Chuck Norton with me. He's one of 7. And we're going to get right back into the questions. Thanks again for joining us. Let's talk about how do you communicate out into the public and other groups. So what are the best ways to do that if you're elected as a school board member?
Well, it can be very difficult because when I was reading about some of the rules and regulations, some things can't be disclosed. It's nothing against the community, but some things have to be handled delicately. Communicating with the public and the constituents, there's a level of honesty that has to be, and that's how you build the trust to understand, so they understand that my decision making, our decision making, our goal is not to undermine anybody, but to make sure that everybody's taken care of.
Would you have a way for people to contact you easily? Are you open to people contacting you off of meeting times?
Oh, totally, totally. I mean, the idea is that I would be an elected official, so yeah, everybody should be able to contact me. I will specifically make sure I give that time period between my professional life and my home life, because we all need that. But that doesn't mean that I won't be open to people talking to me, even in public. If you see me and there's an issue, or you want to tell me I'm doing a good job, you can definitely talk to me. I'm never going to hide away. I'm 6'3", 370 pounds. I do not hide well.
We're on the public relations kind of role here, and you say you're doing this all on your own.
Yeah.
You're not really raising any funds to do it.
No.
You're doing this a lot of passion. Want to do this because you want to make a change too, right?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh yeah. So with that, I definitely am passionate about this and making a change, because, like I said, I tell everybody I fell in love with Marshfield. I fell in love with the school system here, and I do see that things can change, and I would like them to change for the better.
Is there any programs, academic programs, that you would like to see changed or offered or stay the same? Anything in that area? I don't know the classes. Maybe you can think to what your children do.
So, my children love all the classes that they have. I mean, every kid struggles, and we all struggled with one or two classes. What I would like to see is an incorporation of, of more like age-appropriate philosophy. I'm an avid reader of philosophy and an avid thinker of it, but it has to be age-appropriate for the idea of getting kids to think about why they do the things that they do, what information's coming to them, and how they decipher between the idea of true information, fact, and misinformation, because that's what we're running into right now. It's very hard to decipher between what's factual and what's opinion, and I feel like that can help children out as they progress at a younger age to learn who they are and the information that's given to them.
All right. So through the school is to have some kind of program that helps a student understand those differences. Nowadays, social media, I just saw a picture of, and it's fake, but do they really know it's fake, of a picture, I think, of one of the coaches kissing another person. It wasn't real. I can't think of what it was. I think it was on the Chiefs.
I'm thinking of that picture of the Pope in a puffy coat with a chain. But yeah, no, it's
not real.
It's not real, and there's a lot of times where we're given that information, and we have to decide. We have to figure it out, and it's hard to at face value.
So it's critical thinking.
Correct.
And do you know, I don't know of the courses over there, but you're looking at trying to really, use creative thinking to analyze and solve problems.
Correct.
Okay.
And that's what that's one of the things that we struggle with.
Okay.
One of the other issues, and I just ran across this because I was looking at our standardized test scores for the school district. I mean, we are up to par with the state, but there's I think it, I was going to say don't quote me on this, but I'm being quoted.
You're being quoted.
But there's a large portion of our school district that struggle with reading and math. Like I understand that that's a hard thing to cover, but we should strive to be better than just average with the state. We should definitely want to be more.
Well, definitely. And that leads right into this kind of question. How do you improve student achievement and ensure everyone is ready to get into the workforce or go to college? Because you don't know those simple, I don't want to say always simple, I shouldn't say it that way, but how are you going to be ready to get into the workforce if you're leaving and you can't read well enough?
That's exactly right. The one thing when I moved here, I started going to school at the university right down the road. And one of the biggest arguments I kept hearing from the professors there was people are graduating people are leaving high school without knowing how to, function in the college world. Struggling with the reading and writing and doing the mathematics. And it didn't dawn on me until I had my own children. How do I improve their lives? How do I give them the tools that they need to succeed in life? And not all education can be done in college. Sometimes, trade school. But how do we give people that ability to meet their goals?
Definitely. Well, last year, it's already, I think, a year. Yeah, because it's 2024. We had our referendum with the school, and I don't know what's going to happen with that in the future, if it's going to happen or not. But I'm assuming there's going to be always some kind of budget or budget cuts, but you're going to have to deal with that. How do you work? Do you have any experience working with a budget or helping decide what good cuts would be made if there is, or additions?
Well, I haven't been in school board yet, so I don't have any experience on that large scale. I grew up with my mother being a corporate accountant, and she demanded that I take accounting 1 and 2 when I was a wee lad. But so I do have some idea on that, some basic knowledge, but I strive to learn. I strive and I ask questions, and I don't want to fail anybody or myself. But yeah, I don't know until I get in there.
True. And it's a balance, right? How do you, if you do get in there, how do you balance this from education, sports now? Sports are, you could argue both ways. It is, you learn. It's a very important learning tool. There's so many different things. But how do you balance that when you're trying to do a budget? Do you think of those things that, well, do I cut a chess club, or I'm just thinking out loud here, but you have to look at ways to balance the budget just like you're at home, right?
Exactly, and I think that's where we would come into I would come into the idea of getting the community involved, because even if there are budget cuts and there are things that are opportunities that are lost for the children, you can definitely get people involved in the community to be involved to help. We have a company a store that just opened up. It's called OEM. It's Oddities, Manga, and Games. They have a day that's still given just to playing board games. And there is a club at the high school that plays board games, but they might get cut in the budget, just hypothetically. So maybe we can encourage them to go there to encourage the community to help out in that, fill in those gaps.
Exactly, and that's a good point. What you're saying is there's things that are already maybe that exist, that it's not a cut, per se. It may not be done at the school level,
Right.
but it's done by the community. It could be at the library. It could be
Totally.
at the Discovery Station. I know they do stuff too. That's a
using
nonprofit.
using our resources in the community,
Right. So
because these are the future of our Marshfield.
Yeah, this store I think is over. I can't think of it. It's over It's north of here, not north of here. Yeah, no, south of here. I think I've been there. It's a new store for games.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I'm trying to think where it is, but if people are asking. So, all right, we got a few more minutes left. Let's make use of all the time we have. We talked about budget. We talked about quality of education. How do you balance that?
Oh,
and,
yeah.
and really, you came up with some ideas of using what's here already in the community and building on that and getting community engagement. Help with that? Is that another thing? Is bringing the community involved?
Totally, because it's all involved. Education is not just about the idea of the school level. It's about getting parents and the community involved in helping children develop.
Okay. I did want to talk about those topics that have been there since we were in school. This talk about sex education has been there from day one, but now there's I think even bullying has been there. But there's been some other things happening in different schools. What role would you take in there? Anything as if you were elected in the board of trying to teach kids on bullying and wellness?
Well, like I tell my son. And I tell my daughter also, the idea that people are that there's always going to be bullying. It doesn't mean that it's right or wrong, but you can either focus on living a life based on how other people have an opinion on you, or you can be as genuine of a person as yourself. And which way do you want to live? And I said, I'd rather be genuine. I'd rather be honest with who I am and live satisfying to my own self.
Okay. How do you feel the school district is going now? Do you feel it's going in the right direction?
I feel the school district is just living in the idea of the status quo.
Okay. So you're here for maybe some change.
Definitely.
All right. Well, let's go to that last question here. I want you to talk to the voters out there that are going to be voting on the 20th or before, because you can vote before pretty soon in absentees. So we want to get this out as well. And I know a lot of the elderly that are going to be, I think, can vote early too in some areas. I'm not sure about that. But tell the voters why you're the right candidate for the job.
So the reason why I'm the right candidate for the job is because, well, I'm fresh blood. I'm new to this. I'm a lot younger than most of the candidates, and I have children in the school system. I'm passionate about doing things that are right for our children and for the community itself. I don't want to see Marshfield fail or the school district fail.
All righty. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to come up to our studio, get to know you a bit better. For the people that are going to the polls or going to be voting early in absentee, which they can do that. Again, you're one of 7, right?
Yes.
And basically one's going to be eliminated in this primary and will not move on, but there will be 6 moving into the general election, which is taking place, and I don't have that date here. I believe it's in, it's in April.
April, I don't remember.
I'm not sure here. I was looking for it, but anyway, this is about our primary. And remember, get out and vote if you haven't on February 20th. This gives you a little information about the candidates running for our school board here in Marshfield. Thanks again so much for joining us.